In the distant future, the spaceship Hunter-Gratzner and its passengers encounter a meteoroid storm and are forced to make a crash landing on a desolate alien planet. On this planet, flesh-eating aliens hunt and consume all signs of life. These aliens emerge during an eclipse. If you want to stay in the loop and receive more exciting videos, make sure to subscribe, click the notification bell, and don't forget to like the video. In the distant future, when space travel has become commonplace, a space transport ship named Hunter-Gratzner is navigating through a specific route in another part of the galaxy far away from Earth. On board the ship are approximately 40 people who are all in cryosleep. However, one individual named Riddick is awake, which is an exception to the norm. After being on their journey for 22 weeks, an accident occurs. Debris, possibly from a rogue comet or a meteor storm, collides with the ship and breaches its hull. This unexpected event awakens the crew, resulting in the captain's death, and sends the ship hurtling into the atmosphere of a nearby planet. As a result, the ship starts descending rapidly towards the planet's surface. Docking pilot Carolyn Fry, along with navigator Greg Owens, attempts to regain control of the ship. Fry, in an effort to stabilize the descent, jettisons the aft section of the ship. She deploys air brakes to halt the roll, but the rear-heavy ship continues descending tail first. To counter this, Fry starts sequentially purging the remaining aft sections. Owens notices Fry's intention to jettison the passenger cabin as well and prevents her from doing so by blocking the airlock. With little time remaining, Fry catches a glimpse of the horizon as the ship finally levels out. However, the overloaded air brakes fail and shatter the windscreen, subjecting Fry to the force of the rushing air as the ship continues forward. Eventually, the ship crash lands on the planet, sliding along the impact path guided by the ship's automated program. The crash causes the main cabin to rupture, scattering objects along the length of the impact site. Among the survivors of the crash are Carolyn Fry, William J. Johns, who seems to be a law enforcement officer, an imam named Abu al-Walid accompanied by 3 young Muslim boys on a pilgrimage, an antique dealer named Paris P. Ogilvy, a teenage stowaway named Jack, settlers John Zeke Ezekiel and Sharon Shotza Montgomery, and Richard B. Riddick, a dangerous criminal and feared creature with unique eyesight that enables him to see in the dark but is sensitive to daylight. As the dust settles, Fry discovers that Owens has been impaled by a metal shaft. Ordering everyone to evacuate the ship, Fry stays behind to comfort Owens during his final moments. Amidst the chaos, Riddick manages to partially free himself but is swiftly apprehended by Johns. Riddick is subsequently blindfolded, chained, and restrained inside the ship, while the remaining survivors exit the wreckage and survey their surroundings. In the distance, there is a small hill adorned with numerous towering spires resembling chimneys. The compass needle swings aimlessly, rendering any sense of direction useless. Fry joins the group outside, where they express gratitude towards her as their captain for saving their lives from a seemingly hopeless situation. However, Fry remains uncertain due to her previous actions. The cargo hold cabin contains Paris's collection of luxury wine bottles, but there is no water available. Meanwhile, Riddick, tightly bound at his hands, legs, eyes, and mouth, manages to escape using his exceptional skills, maneuvering his shoulders. Johns instructs everyone to gather weapons from the shipwreck, including some antique weapons belonging to Paris, with the warning that Riddick will return for essential items, urging them to be prepared to either kill him or be killed by him. Outside the wreckage, Zeke, Saza, and Jack construct a device to assist in breathing, increasing oxygen intake as needed. As the afternoon progresses and sunset approaches, Fry urges Imam to search for water while the temperature is still bearable and before nightfall. At that moment, they witness a breathtaking sight on the horizon, a trio of suns, promising perpetual daylight. Imam interprets the blue sunrise as a sign from God, pointing them in the direction of water. Johns, pleased that Riddick no longer has the advantage of darkness, believes the blue sunrise indicates the direction in which Riddick has gone. Johns assigns half of the group to keep watch at the wreck ship. The remaining group embark on a search towards the blue sunlight after the other 2 suns have set. Johns uses his telescope and discovers what appears to be trees, indicating the presence of water. However, upon reaching the location, they realize it is actually a vast bone structure, stretching along a channel of massive animal skeletons. They speculate that it may be a mass graveyard, raising questions about the planet's fate and who could be responsible for the demise of its inhabitants. In his dying moments, Owens warns Fry not to touch a certain handle, referring to the rod that impaled him. Johns, having caught onto this hint, confronts Fry. She confesses her attempt to sacrifice the passengers but pleads with him not to reveal her secret. Unbeknownst to them, Riddick hides in the shade and silently cuts off a strand of Fry's hair with a bone shiv. The group continues their exploration and traverses a narrow canyon adorned with spires at the ridge tops. As they approach the canyon's conclusion, they encounter man-made objects such as a solar-powered toy robot, eventually reaching a deserted human settlement. Various water-related items, like jugs, a moisture recovery machine, and a tap, suggest that water was once present in the area. Fry stumbles upon a dark room housing an orrery, a mechanical model illustrating the planetary motion around their suns. The orrery also offers the option to set the year, adjusting the orbits accordingly. Exiting the room, Fry discovers a skiff, small spaceship, located behind the settlement. Meanwhile, back at the wrecked ship, Paris, Saza, and Jack remain near the containers, while Zeke is positioned at a visible distance on a hill, digging a mass grave. In a case of mistaken identity, they shoot an unknown man resembling Riddick, who turns out to be a survivor from the crash. When Zeke brings bodies to be buried near a group of spires, he notices a hole in the grave. Investigating further, he is unexpectedly pulled inside by an unseen force and killed. Shotza rushes to the scene, discovering blood everywhere. Riddick is present, holding a knife, leading Shotza to believe he is Zeke's murderer. They give chase as Johns, who heard the gunshot while inspecting the skiff-ship with Fry. Johns intercepts Riddick as he flees, engaging in a fight that results in Riddick's goggles being torn off, rendering him blinded by the sun. Johns successfully restrains Riddick and secures him back in the shipwreck. Fry interrogates the restrained Riddick, who cynically admits while repeating the exaggerated rumors circulating among the fearful group. Despite Fry's continued probing, Riddick implies that he is no longer the group's main concern, hinting at unknown creatures responsible for Zeke's death, possibly lurking further inside the hole. Fry notices Riddick's peculiar shining eyes, and Jack inquires about his ability to see in the dark. Riddick attributes his nocturnal vision to years spent imprisoned without daylight and a surgical procedure that brought about these changes. Johns warns that Riddick is lying about Zeke's demise, but Fry starts to trust Riddick and decides to investigate the hole. With a safety wire connecting her to the outside, Fry ventures deep into the tunnel where Zeke vanished and discovers his severed ankle and boot. She also spots several conical openings above, allowing sunlight to enter the cave. As Fry encounters the lurking aliens in the shade, producing strange sounds, she panics, screams, and miraculously escapes through another hole with the help of the group outside. Now facing more pressing concerns, Johns releases Riddick from his restraints, offering him the chance to fight for survival in exchange for freedom on the condition that he relinquishes his shiv. The group gathers their belongings, including a power cell salvaged from the crashed ship, to test the skiff-ship, and they head towards the settlement, with Riddick now part of their company, dragging a heavy load on a metal sled. Upon arrival at the settlement, Saza notes its limited capacity, but Riddick asserts that even the small vessel can take them to the solar track shipping lanes, where they can find rescue. Johns prevents Riddick from entering the skiff-ship and tasks him with finding materials to repair the wings. Fry successfully powers on the skiff-ship for a system check and determines that they will require 5 power cells, each with a capacity of 20 gig, to launch the skiff-ship, totaling 90 gig. Elsewhere in the settlement, the moisture machine has been fixed, bringing joy to a mom and his boys as water starts flowing from the tap. Riddick explores the surroundings and stumbles upon a locked coring room, intriguingly secured from the inside. Jack playfully follows Riddick there, hiding atop the room, while Ollie, a Muslim boy, sneaks inside. Eventually, Riddick and Jack return to the group's party, where they celebrate the newfound water. During the gathering, the group discusses the numerous abandoned items left behind at the settlement. While some try to rationalize the situation, Riddick boldly declares that the former inhabitants are all deceased, having fallen victim to the same creatures responsible for Zeke's demise. While Ollie remains inside the dimly lit coring room, which unfortunately houses alien birds nesting near the ceiling, Riddick unintentionally exposes the solar equipment on the roof. As the light reaches the nest, numerous bat-like alien birds begin to fly around and screech. In a panic, Ollie rushes into another dark room. Hearing Ollie's screams, the others come and force open the coring room. Upon opening the inner room, a swarm of flying creatures emerges and swiftly descends into the coring shaft, seemingly avoiding the light. They discover and bury the body of a boy. To investigate further, they drop a flare down the coring shaft and find a large number of human skulls and skeletons. Riddick explains that the geologists had sought refuge there, thinking it was safe. Shatsa offers Riddick her breather as a gesture of apology for wrongly suspecting him of killing Zeke. Fry discovers a coring sample from 22 years ago, dated the same month as the present. She returns to the planet's model and adjusts the year setting. They realize that every 22 years, there is a total eclipse when all three planets and the suns on either side align, plunging the middle planet into complete darkness. Johns cautions Fry against fetching the power cells too early, citing Riddick's past actions of seizing a ship and killing the pilot. Fry, on the other hand, sees Riddick as a potential pilot and is pleased to have him on their side. Eventually, Riddick takes Fry aside within the skiff-ship and shares his perspective, discussing his desire for freedom, revealing that Johns is a bounty hunter, and alluding to Johns' drug problem. Fry confronts Johns about the recent revelation regarding his true identity, and he confesses that he is not a cop. She catches Johns injecting morphine into his eye and discovers that he has a stash of the drug. Fry becomes angry, realizing that Johns withheld painkillers when Owen was in agonizing pain. Johns shows Fry the wounds he sustained from Riddick and asserts that his personal choices, including drug use, are none of her concern. They step outside and observe that the yellow suns have risen while the blue sun has set. However, they also notice the ring of the other planet appearing on the horizon. They hastily return to the settlement, riding the Sandcat vehicle through the canyon back to the wrecked ship, where they load the power cells onto a sled to be dragged. Darkness descends rapidly, rendering the solar-powered vehicle useless before they can return to the skiff-ship. In the twilight, they hear an increasing squealing sound emanating from the spires and witness thousands of mid-sized young aliens taking flight into the sky. The men seek refuge in the shelter of the cargo hold cabin, while Shatsa and Riddick lag behind and are forced to drop to the ground as a swarm of flying creatures passes overhead. Shatsa becomes panicked and attempts to flee but is swiftly torn apart and carried away by the creatures. Riddick survives by remaining low until the flock disperses. Removing his goggles, Riddick gazes into the distant darkness as the spires collapse, allowing fully grown alien birds to emerge. As they explore the cargo hold, which has now become their prison, the piercing sounds and bladed appendages of the aliens drive them deeper into the hold. Riddick discovers a large alien feasting on a smaller one in a dark corner of the room. At that moment, Hassan stumbles upon the scene, and both individuals freeze, attempting to hide. However, when multiple large aliens gather nearby and extend their scythe-like blades from their sharp claws, Hassan succumbs to fear and is killed while attempting to escape. Riddick flees toward the rest of the group, who have set up lights in that direction. Johns shoots down one of the aliens, and they realize that light actually burns the creature's flesh, providing an explanation for their aversion to light. Johns believes the darkness will soon end, but Imam reminds him that during the eclipse, the planets move together, resulting in prolonged darkness. Fry wants to stick to the plan of moving with the cells to the skiff-ship and leaving the planet. Since the aliens fear light, Fry suggests using it as cover while moving in the dark. Johns disagrees, calling it a mass suicide and preferring to wait for the suns to rise again. However, Fry points out that this strategy failed for the geologists hiding in the coring shaft. Their argument becomes heated and filled with hateful remarks. Despite this, the rest of the group chooses Fry as their captain. Suddenly, Riddick becomes their hope for survival as Fry decides he will lead them with his night vision. They gather supplies, including flares, a cutting torch, bottles of inflammable spirit, and glow tubes connected to a central machine, and head to the main cabin of the wreck ship. Riddick warns them to avoid getting bloody cuts as the aliens can smell blood. They set out in the dark, with Riddick leading them using a flashlight while being followed by alien creatures hiding in the shadows. During their journey, Paris drops a flashlight, and Jack leaves the sled to retrieve it, which attracts an alien attack. Jack is saved, but Paris panics and in the process, breaks the glow tube system, leaving him in darkness and vulnerable to an alien attack. Riddick witnesses the horrifying sight of the aliens feasting on Paris. They continue their journey using flares and other lights, but the path seems never-ending. They realize they have crossed their own tracks and angrily question where Riddick is leading them in the darkness. Riddick explains that he took an extra round to think because they will soon face a dangerous canyon and because the girl is bleeding. The group is shocked to discover that Jack is actually a girl disguised as a boy for her safety and is currently bleeding. Fry now understands the grave danger they are in and the challenges ahead. She suggests returning to the ship, but Johns dismisses her idea, bringing up her earlier remarks about sacrificing the passenger cabin. The group continues moving towards the skiff-ship. They proceed into the boneyard, with Johns and Riddick taking the lead. In order to survive the upcoming treacherous canyon, Johns suggests a grim plan, sacrificing one person, Jack, to lure the aliens away and save the rest. Riddick becomes furious with this idea and engages in a fight with Johns, intending to kill him. Filled with panic, Fry and the others run away as the fight continues. Riddick wounds Johns by cutting his back with a knife, plunging him into darkness as his light goes out. Johns, injured and attracting the attention of the aliens, attempts to defend himself but is ultimately stabbed and devoured by an alien. Riddick reunites with the group, who are fleeing towards the wrecked ship without a clear direction and losing their light. In the boneyard, Riddick discovers the skeleton of an alien predator and studies its strengths and weaknesses. He realizes that the creature has a blind spot in the center, between its two bony ears. As they approach the canyon, they see it as a deadly path with narrow walls, filled with aliens and their eerie sounds. They all make a frantic dash through the canyon, with Riddick carrying the tied-together power cells and keeping up with the others. A swarm of mid-sized aliens swoops down towards them, but the light from their torches repels them momentarily. They witness aliens fighting each other in midair, displaying signs of cannibalism due to years of hunger. The last young Muslim boy is injured when an alien grabs his foot, causing a bloody wound. Riddick appears to abandon them, but when Jack is attacked by an alien, he turns back to engage in a hand-to-hand fight, blocking its scythe-like blade with his feet, slashing its flesh with his knife, and ultimately killing it. Suddenly, rain starts to pour. The rain poses a threat to their dwindling light sources. They search for shelter, but the aliens snatch the last boy pilgrim. Riddick discovers a cave for Fry, Jack, and the Imam to hide in and seals the entrance, while he continues on alone. Jack becomes concerned that Riddick is abandoning them as he possesses the power cells and the skiff-ship, which lies just beyond the canyon. Soon, their light source within the cave extinguishes, but they discover luminescent slugs on the cave walls. They collect them and fill their empty bottles to create makeshift lamps. Fry departs from the cave with a lamp and makes her way towards the skiff-ship. Riddick sits in the pilot's seat, preparing for takeoff, seemingly leaving the others to their fate. He opens the door for Fry, who invites him to join her in returning to rescue Imam and Jack. However, Riddick convinces her to board the skiff-ship and abandon the rest. Overwhelmed with visions of the ship's passengers during the crash, Fry attacks Riddick and insists they go back for Jack and Imam. Riddick holds a knife to her neck and questions whether she would sacrifice herself for them. To his surprise, She confidently responds affirmatively. Back at the cave, Jack and Imam rejoice when they discover the rock at the entrance moving aside, revealing Fry and Riddick. The four of them rush towards the settlement, encountering multiple aliens along the way. They sprint through the alien horde, with Riddick intentionally lagging behind to bear the brunt of the attack. The three survivors reach the skiff-ship, and Riddick manages to get close as well. However, a sudden obstacle emerges, a blocking alien. Riddick skillfully maneuvers, swaying back and forth within the alien's blind spot. Unfortunately, as he moves away, a second alien appears behind him, exposing him to their sight. The others hesitate at the skiff-ship, believing Riddick to be dead, but his yell catches their attention. Fry rushes towards the sound, finding Riddick on the ground, wounded and bloody, but still clutching his knife. She tries to help him to his feet and reach the skiff-ship, but he proves too large and heavy. Finally standing upright, Riddick witnesses an alien stabbing Fry from behind, then flying away with her. Overwhelmed by pain, Riddick collapses and mutters, "Not for me." As Imam and Jack converse, Riddick takes the pilot's seat, switches on the controls, and powers up the engines, preparing the skiff-ship for departure. Surprisingly, he turns off the switches, unsettling the others who are eager for takeoff and relief. The darkened area attracts the attention of the aliens, surrounding the skiff-ship menacingly. Riddick then powers up engines again. The bright light and force of the engines annihilate the surrounding aliens as they exit the atmosphere. In space, Jack inquires about what they should disclose to the authorities about Riddick when questioned.